Hi, I'm Robert Osborne. Thanks so much for joining us for more of our Race in Hollywood Festival, our look at how minorities have been portrayed on the big screen. This year, the focus is on Latinos, and with me right now to help put these films in context is Chon Noriega, an author and professor from UCLA who's an expert on the subject. Welcome back, Chon.
Well, thank you, Robert. It's great to be here.
Chon not only helped us program this festival, he's also written extensively on the topic of Latino images in film, including this really wonderful book, Shot in America, Television, the State, and the Rise of Chicano Cinema. Well, for the next several hours, Chon and I are going to be talking about films in our lineup, and we're going to begin with a 1942 film based on a best-selling novel by John Steinbeck called Tortilla Flat. It stars Spencer Tracy, Hedy Lamarr, and John Garfield. Well, let's talk a little about this and about the casting.
This is a really interesting film because it's based on a very popular novel. It's one of John Steinbeck's first breakthrough publications. You've got a A-list stellar group of actors, including, in addition to Spencer Tracy and Hedy Lamarr and John Garfield, you have Frank Morgan, who's best known as the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
It's probably one of the worst examples of racial masquerade because there is just no way in which you can find Spencer Tracy and Hedy Lamarr believable.
So you've got an Irishman from Milwaukee, you've got a beautiful girl from Austria, and you've got a Jewish boy from New York City playing a Mexican-American.
Hello.
Hello, sweets.
My people name me Dolores.
Your people don't see what I see. You gonna be around a little while, sweets? Maybe I come and help you milk your goats, huh?
You have to say, though, one thing about in context. In 1942, MGM never would have made this movie if it didn't have roles for two of the people under contract at the studio, Spencer Tracy and Hedy Lamarr. And so, you know, so to get the story at all, to get MGM to make it in the 40s, you would have to take it this way or not at all.
Well, they acquired the rights because Spencer Tracy wanted to do a John Steinbeck film. He had missed out on The Grapes of Wrath 2 years earlier.
Right.
So this was his chance to work with an author that he admired.
Right. Do you like this film?
All
that aside?
This is a film that I think you just have to see to believe. It's in some ways it's really a very dreadful film, but it's almost like watching a car accident. You have to just see it to really understand the way in which, one, the kind of interest of A-list star actors, the popularity of novels, all that come together to produce something that is just really off the mark. And what's fascinating is the fact that you can have Spencer Tracy and Hedy Lamarr in a film and have Newsweek respond by saying this is a documentary. And you have to think, well, what's going on? What is it that they think is documentary-like? Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, you realize, well, it is documenting something. It is documenting a desire on the part of mainstream culture to step away from the complexities and some of the tragedy of the contemporary moment, including the Second World War.
Because things like war are never mentioned in the movie.
Yeah, and find this peaceful, idyllic moment. Now, the downside is that the group that is being depicted, they're not just simple and idyllic in a romantic framework. They're presented as more or less ignorant winos.
Right.
But in some sort of way, that becomes a lovable
part of the charm
aspect,
of it.
Part of the charm of the characters, and the fact that, you know, beloved actors like Tracy are portraying them.
So let's see it now. Here it is from 1942, directed by Victor Fleming, and with an Oscar-nominated supporting performance by Frank Morgan. Here's Tortilla Flat.
It's a great film, 1945, and it's very much in line with the films that we're looking at tonight.
Right, all about Mexican-Americans, and I think there's only one Mexican in it, and that's Arturo de Cordova, right?
Yeah, and it's presented as very much as a fable about a very simpler place and group of people responding to kind of situations, in this case, the war effort.
Yeah, Dorothy Lamour and J. Carrol Naish. But that, you know, that when you think about it now, you've triggered a lot of thought about this. That's continued on and on. Eli Wallach and Magnificent Seven, and then you know, it's all that cross casting too, like Arturo de Cordova, who is Mexican, played the lead in Frenchman's Creek, playing this dashing French, you know, sailor and sword fighter and everything like that for Paramount. So it goes on and on.
Well, it did
Charlton Heston in Touch of Evil.
No, absolutely, and this is one of the great films in the late in the studio era, and he's cast as a Mexican.
Right. But then
character.
actors will tell you, you know, that's why they became actors, is to be people other than who they were.
You know,
So-
and I think there's a good point to that, because ideally, actors should be able to play the roles that they're able to play.
Right.
I think where it kind of goes awry is when there are not equal opportunities for Latino actors on the one hand, and two, when it's just plain bad. It just was not a good match or good fit. It was something that was really beyond the capabilities of the actor, and it brings that other issue to the foreground, that there were other ways that they could have approached this story. In the case of Tortilla Flat, this really is MGM's attempt to kind of make Spencer Tracy happy, and his desire to
Do a Steinbeck story.
Do a Steinbeck adaptation,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think even he recognized that this was not the best Steinbeck work for him to play.
Right. He would have been wonderful in Grapes of Wrath, as you said, as you wanted to do, but that's another story. Stick around. Chon and I are going to be back to introduce another movie in our Latino Images and Film Spotlight. This is a rarely seen documentary from 1953, and one that's a premiere for us here at TCM.